Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's AFK journey video. So before we start today's video, for the giveaway codes itself, I'll just be copy pasting all the codes in the description down below. So the codes are courtesy from the AFK Journey Creator Showdown that is given to me as a participant. So each code can be claimed by one account once. At least that's based off my knowledge within, I'll say like 3 to 4 months. So you can only claim one code from the 20 codes below. First come, first serve. Just copy paste the code, put it into your account, and you will be able to claim the gem. So just a minor gem giveaway. So that's for the code side, right? Pretty simple one. No Discord, no individual logging. So for today's video, we are going to talk about the swap tickets, because I think I saw quite a lot of questions for the swap tickets, like should I use the swap ticket on this, or like how does the swap ticket actually work? So for this swap ticket, I think I'm assuming you are a brand new player, right? There hasn't been through like all the different seasons. This is a tool that came in season 2 for the Waves of Intrigue season, and with regards to this swap tickets, there's no expiration date. So let's just say like this is my ticket from the Waves of Intrigue season, right? One day, if let's say either Hodgkin or Nara becomes like the god of PvP and Tasi becomes one of the worst character there, then I could actually use it maybe like 1 year later, for example, and then do the swap from there. So that's with regards to the swap tickets. Okay, I'm not gonna accidentally click the swap, because what will happen is all the stats, all the tiers, EX weapon, as well as all the different mechanics that has resources in it will be fully transferred over. But just take note that let's say if you have a spare copy of the units, what will happen is the spare copy will not be translated to anything, right? It will just remain on the character. So for my Tasi, for example, we are currently at Paragon 3 with 2 remaining shards to sort of be transferred. So if we were to use the swap ticket, what will happen is Tasi will go back to the epic tier, and then we'll have these 2 shards remaining on her. So ideally, in most cases, you want to sort of max out the units in terms of the shards before transferring, so that you don't waste any of your extra soul stones or soul sigils right here. So that's for the stat side. This is for the additional sigil side. And for the swap tickets in general, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm just gonna mention it once again for the people who are new to the channel. For these swap tickets in general, I'll strongly encourage players, right, if you're moving into the next season, to go for the earlier units, such that these swap tickets don't go into waste. Because in most cases, I think you can actually just go for the earlier units and then use the swap later, and you will be able to enjoy the new units in the first half of the new season. And then if the later unit is more meta, then just do the swap for the more meta character, right? So that's my viewpoint in terms of the swap ticket. So like there are some people, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna hog all my resources and just keep it until the Lily May, the Chimera, the OD comes through, right? But usually they either don't come or they come really late into the season anyway. So if let's say like if the starting unit is something that is good and you invested in them early, you will be able to benefit throughout the whole season, right? And this is where I think it's more valuable to use your ticket that way, instead of just hogging all your resources and wait until the most optimal character comes around. So that's for the swap ticket. So no expiration. Take note of the resources swap, as well as obviously, like the efficiency of the tickets in general. So that's for the mechanism. Now for this season, I think people are questioning whether or not they should switch out for Chimera, right? Because Chimera is quite an OP character. For the S level side, I think it's pretty straightforward, because all these characters, they have their specific niches. So if let's say you're not using that character enough, I'll strongly encourage you to swap them. But let's say if you do find use in them and you don't mind just keeping them there and then building your Chimera from scratch, then there's no need to use it. But then like this will probably cause your swap ticket to be rotting in your account. So that's that. So for this season, right, Siren's one of the most powerful PvP character. So this character right here, one of the most PvP character, one of the most like meta character around in the PvP side, and probably so for a while, because like the ability to stop your opponent from using the artifact is just game changing as a PvP ability. So not sure whether or not he will remain at the top for very long, but at the very least, I think within like that close 1 to 2 months period before we get the next beast that can counter him, he's probably gonna be at the top of the meta in terms of usage. So PvP centric character is also generally versatile, can be used for AFK stages with the control, with the repositioning, which I see him being more used in the future with future light barrier supports in general. So that's the direction angle that I think Siren will move towards. And then for Shemira, I think this unit needs no introduction. This unit is basically the best unit this season, generally usable, generally meta across the board, and very beginner friendly, very useful for new accounts. So far, the responses that I got from the newer players is that this unit is helping them push through really easily. So I think Shemira single-handedly can do that because of her kit, because of the level build-ups, as well as obviously like her damage output in general. So yeah, like these two units, I think they are the top two in terms of who to use the swap tickets for. For Lawson's case, Lawson is not the most used character, but he does have his niche, which goes into those bursty contents or the burst-centric teams, because he's able to increase the damage taken by the enemy. He's able to burst you to give you the advantage in terms of the sustain in a burst situation. So usually you'll see Lawson with like your lightning strike comp, your burst comps, Iron Armor's comps in the PvP side, and you did see him being used, or we did see him being used in the meta teams for the Harmonic Challenge. So I think in this sort of situation where you need a burst healer as well as a burst support, Lawson will come into mind. So it's a niche role, but still a role which I think Lawson has the advantage in, because there's not many units in that specific category. Damien needs a little bit of time for the cut to come online, and then Huin's a little bit slow, Coco's a little bit slow, Smokey is channeling, so not the best like burst healer kind of unit. So that's why Lawson has that very specific niche for him. So for the S level side, it's a little bit challenging, but in most cases it will be Lawson for Shemira if you're not running Lawson a lot. So that's for the S level side. For A level, this season A level is also relatively easy to decide, because like we have Faramore, we have Gerda, we have Kellen, we have Valka. So don't get me wrong, I think Kellen's a superb tank for free-to-play player, right? Because this unit is a unit that is very powerful on the mid shielding side. So this unit is a Graveborn, which means that you can combo Kellen with Shemira to form some Graveborn centric teams in the early game to help you with your content progression. And on top of that, I think Kellen in the PvP side is usable, depending on the situation, and also like depending on your server build up. So he definitely does his job as a mid shield tank. It's just that as a mid shield tank, it's not a very impressive job that garners a lot of attention. So that's why, yeah, he's not much talk about, but I would say he's actually quite good as a mid shield tank for especially beginners. So if you have a better tank option, let's say if you already upgraded Fresto and you're using your Supreme Plus Fresto, this is where Kellen's value drops a lot, because you have a much better tank that is generally also more versatile and more meta. So that's for Kellen. But if let's say your Fresto's not built up, I think using Kellen as a tank for your account for the various contents, definitely a decent choice as well. Then for Gerda's case, Gerda is, yeah, probably the weakest of the bunch, because like I think what she wants to do is very niche, and like I think the Mauler rush kind of melee rush kind of idea is also very hard to pull off this season, specifically because Mauler didn't get the best factional bonus unlike the previous season, and also because Wilder's factional talent is just much better for that sniping and that inbound on your carry in general. So like I do see Gerda being used in my bracket. I also see people trying to make Gerda work, but in general, for most people, the only advantage that Gerda has would be her design. Okay, so that's for Gerda's case, not recommended. Then for Valka, Valka's one of the first unit to be released in the game, but I think for this season her performance is slightly underwhelming in general. She's probably going to see some use for the meta teams for the Novik boss for the Ravage Realm side, but as a true damage dealer, unfortunately Faramore outscales her even on the base kit in terms of the damage output. If you just take a look at like what they do, right, Faramore is basically a much better true damage dealer. So what does this leave our dear Valka with? Right, if you take a look at Valka, I think Valka's a mix of damage, is a mix of survival in terms of damage absorption, in terms of shielding, and also a little bit of buff. So her role, I think, in the PvP side at the very least is to buff up your units and then quickly burst down the enemy. But unfortunately for this season, similar to Gerda, we have the Wilder's factional talent, which makes units on the other faction less attractive in terms of team building, because like there are a lot of really meta units, right, and you want to group them with some of the best factional talent, so you need the Wilders for the activation of the factional talent. So Valka is definitely a viable character in terms of like having that burst needs, but it's very niche in this season, and her charms is not exactly something that actually boosts her damage output as a true damage dealer. So in terms of being a DPS, I think Faramore outweighs Valka in terms of the kit. Okay, but in the PvP side, Valka definitely and probably will have some use moving forward, provided the next season mechanics benefits her, because she's actually quite a powerful character PvP wise with whatever she has on paper. It's just that when it comes to practice, when it comes to putting the teams and the mechanics together, she doesn't scale as well. So if let's say you want to do a swap, what I can encourage you is you can actually maybe build up Callan first, right? If you need a tank to use in this season, and then use the A level swap tickets to the respective carries like Pheromore or Valka based on what you need. Okay, this season wise, I think Pheromore is definitely the better choice in terms of usage in general. Dream Realm, AFK stage, you can use him because Wilders this season is quite bonkers because of the factional talent. And for the next season, I think we don't know what will happen yet. It's a Graveborn season, so who knows? Maybe Valka will get an amazing ability and she could be good again. Somewhere along the line of Sinbad from the last season itself. In case you guys do not know, Sinbad was from the previous season and he wasn't very good when he was initially released. So the same could also happen to Valka. I can't promise on that, but that is at least based off the track record of the previous season itself. So do take note. I won't encourage you to do the immediate swap, but if you were to sort of build the units or choose the units to use the swap tickets on based on the current situation, Pheromore is without the doubt best to swap into because of what he can do for you in the current meta itself. So that's pretty much it for the swap ticket side of things. Hopefully this answered your doubts with regards to how to use it, the mechanics, as well as what units you want to swap for. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!